Who are the top 5 agents for ranking up in patch 8.14? Stick around to find out. First up on the list is Omen, the Paranoia agent. Really strong agent, but there are key reasons I think this agent will outperform the rest of the pack in this upcoming patch. And the first is the map pool. Omen's best maps are usually listed as Ascent, Icebox, Bind, and Haven in some order. Omen is bad in Fracture and Breeze. You may notice that all 4 of Omen's good maps are currently in rotation, with only 1 being bad for Omen. 4 for the price of 1 is a pretty good deal, and besides, Omen's kit is naturally stronger in solo queue because of his ability to limit an individual's information and create intricate outplays with just the abilities in his own kit. On top of this, Omen is a smoker, which is the most necessary role for any team composition. Omen smokes recharge every 40 seconds, which means it's not crazy on defense to use a smoke at the start for a crazy play and then still have 2 smokes down for the retake. Omen also has great representation in both Radiant and Pro Play, so you won't struggle too much finding great playbooks and role models for your climb. On top of this, Omen is one of the strongest smokers for this patch, and it's just you can play your Vipers getting nerfed into the ground with both the Molly nerfs and the timer nerfs. Neon is on the rise. There's just a lot of reasons. It's Viper's not where she used to be, and you're going to be looking around on some of these neutral maps that aren't necessarily Viper maps and aren't necessarily Omen's great maps, and I really think that this is going to be one of those patches where Omen's going to come into play and really be hitting hard. He's going to be in that spot that Viper was in, having this great outplay potential and a ton of great setups. Of course, the one thing that you'll always be missing is that Viper ultimate, and there's not a great replacement for that, but to be honest, you don't need that. You don't need to be able to lock that sight down that much. Omen isn't about that at all. Omen is about dynamic, crazy moments where everyone's flooding in and you're teleporting behind the enemy and then you shoot them all with 1 magazine and get an ace and they never turn around at all and they never heard you. And they're just sitting there going, wow, I never even saw Omen, where was he? And then all the teammates are like, oh, I guess he must have been behind us because none of us saw him. It's that's what you want to be doing with Omen. You're not looking for this, I'm never letting you take my sight ever, ever, ever. That's just not what you do with Omen. Omen is also half a duelist, which is something Viper's a little lacking in. She's half a sentinel and Omen is half a duelist. And if you've noticed, Clove is the other character that's going to be somewhere in between a Raina and an Omen. Really, that's the way I see that character, mixing and taking a little bit of both. But the problem is that I think that Clove doesn't do a great job as a controller in the first place. Sure, you've got the recharging smoke aspect, which is basically the same ability as Omen's, so that's cool, but I just think that the paranoia ability is so irreplaceable for most team compositions that you're not really going to be fighting over Clove as much either. I think that character will also never see much pro play, and that'll keep her a lot of Radiant, and that will also just, that character has good aspects, but they are not as strong as Omen's outplay potential, especially in the ranks that aren't the absolute highest. All in all, Omen is a great choice for your solo queue climb because of his solo play potential, capacity for steady play, and information games that are much stronger in solo queue. Cipher is the number 4 pick on my list of strongest agents in patch 8.14. Cipher is another highly informative agent, a trend you might be noticing in this list. Abilities with strong disruption and high impact on a small area are ultimately powerful when they're less comms, keeping the bad guys away from where you want to be holding down. And as for the map pool, Cipher is an all-around pick. Sentinels don't need to worry as much about the map except for knowing a setup on each map, so I'd say learn at least 2 pro setups for each map, and your prep is kind of done. Besides that, it just comes down to your game sense, so play the game, keep your eyes open, and the situational awareness will come with time and attentiveness. So keep your eyes and ears open and you'll be ranking up in no time. I think that Sentinels are some of the easiest ways to get free elo, because if you just place your setup down on site and they keep pushing it, you will just get a positive KD, because it is so hard not to when you have all of your util out and they keep running into it. And sometimes they won't, and sometimes they'll play the opposite side the whole game and you'll be doing nothing. But when you're doing nothing, just remember that your team needs to be responding to that by stacking more toward that site. So don't be afraid as a Sentinel main to say, hey, I've got this. If they start pushing me, I have information about that and I'll be able to tell you. So you can stack that site and have one player mid 3-1-1 and you're still going to be fine because I'm the Sentinel, I can hold my own. And as a Cipher, your big advantage is the information of your cam, so you can know when they're coming before they're anywhere near you, which is great. And the cam also recharges, or this wouldn't really work, because if they break the cam at the start of the round, in 40 seconds, you can place it back, see that there's no one there, and your teammate can leave again, and you're solo on site. And that is so helpful. So maybe you've got a Cipher, Neon, what's a crazy comp? Cipher, Neon, Clove, Raina, Gecko. You can keep your Neon with you. You have Raina and Gecko and Clove all playing on B site while you're playing like A on bind or something by yourself, locking it down, and they just haven't hit that site at all. And then you've got 3 players stacking the other site, and then you just throw an aggressive cam. And if they come for you, you're getting one. And you probably are going to slow them down a lot with a crazy cage play if you know them, or you can take B site and flip it around. You know, you can be dynamic with the Sentinel, and that's what I really like about them as a role. And that's what I also really like about Cipher, is that he takes that same dynamicness that all Sentinels have and he locks it into a more informational style, which is what I think we're going to see flourishing in solo queue more and more as the game goes on. Raina is my number 3 pick for solo queue because Raina. Sometimes your team just won't be feeling it, and the rounds will be suspicious at best. In the games where you can't seem to win a round, Raina has your back as the carry agent that will spare your RR by always giving you the opportunity to win at least a few rounds. Another advantage to Raina is that when top fragging, you'll receive more RR per win and less is taken away per loss. This makes playing Raina the most kill-focused character, the fastest way to climb if you're confident in your aim and abilities, as a fragger personally. This does not mean that Raina is the strongest agent or any of those things, but Raina is the most dedicated hyper carry. So if you are confident that you are better than the people around you, play Raina. Raina is great for situations where you know that your aim's just a little faster, or you're going to be clicking on their heads a little bit more consistently than they will yours. Because all it really takes is 2, and Raina has done everything she needs to. You don't always need to get a quad kill and just win the round on your own, and most of the times, that's not even the most helpful thing. You really only need to get 2, and Raina... What separates Raina from other characters like Clove or like newly ISO is that Raina doesn't have a lot of else to rely on, but the overheal mechanic is so strong. And also Dismiss is such a unique ability that you instantly get a get out of jail free card, like a jet dash that's just so free. That is such a strong ability, and especially now after the update, it's also a repositioning tool. It wasn't really so much that before. You could reposition behind a corner, but not so much to go where you needed to go. But in a lot of ways, Raina just kind of gets infinite jet dashes when in ultimate, or when just running around. And that also, that optionality of having either a full heal when you need it, or a very strong jet dash, like stronger than jet dash in my opinion. With the new update, the Raina Dismiss is stronger than a jet dash if you can actually access it. I'm not saying that the ability itself is stronger, but I think when you click the button, it is more impactful than clicking jet dash. KO is my number 2 pick for the best agent to climb with. KO has everything that you need, literally. There's even a pro that plays KO in every map no matter what, so for sure you can too. KO's knife and pop flashes are such versatile all-stars that no matter the map or the meta, there's always room for their 1-2 punch. Learning lineups is not even necessary for KO, but I would advise at least learning how to perfect flash, which is where you flash and it pops right as it turns the corner, blinding your enemies with no time for them to react. Because for a decently low time commitment, this trick will win you a ton of rounds, an absolute ton of rounds. This is the most important tech with KO. You really don't need fancy like hard throw lineups, just being able to soft throw and peek with your soft throw is the most important KO tech. KO is the most well-rounded character in the game, and you should definitely at least give him a try. But not before getting to our number 1 slot. Before giving away our number 1 recommendation for solo queue agent choice, let's take a moment and appreciate some honorable mentions. Astra, Neon, Harbor? Wait a second, these aren't solo queue agents. These are pro play agents. What are you doing here? Look guys, y'all are great, but my teammates are all hard stuck, and they won't work with me here at all. Didn't they all read Psalm's playbook this year? I guess not. Anyways, these agents are great, but only when your team knows what's going on. Stay away from these agents in solo queue. You play doesn't really matter. If you pick most any agent you like and learn to play them well, you will rank up. These picks are just more or less fast-tracking the process. But you know a secret? The agent you play doesn't really matter. If you pick most any agent you like and learn to play them well, you will rank up. These picks are just more or less fast-tracking the process. But if Astra makes you happy, play Astra in your gold lobbies. Just know that I, your teammates, and everyone else will be making fun of you. For the #1 spot for best solo agent in Valorant, I offer you ISO, the most broken agent by far now. ISO can take an op headshot like a splash of water. Joke's on you, he's into that. ISO is Raina with utility, and I'll be saying that until his inevitable nerf. But until then, play this character into the ground. If you are looking for a more dedicated ISO guide, then look no further than the pinned video. But just to cover a bit of the basics. ISO's wall is a very complex piece of utility that's something between a Viper wall and like a smoke that's like an Astra wall that moves with you. It's a very confusing piece of utility. It's hard to get full value out of it. But when you do, you start to realize that the best way to use it is to point it at an angle and then peek diagonal with it, so it's like your edges are both facing the same direction so that it's covering your side while you're facing forward. That's how you really want to look to use this ability. So it's cutting off a choke point, and it's essentially acting as another smoke on Duelist. We surely need another Duelist that can also smoke, but fine. The second ability, I don't know the name of these abilities, has 2 charges, and it's essentially like an alarm bot. It's like getting hit by an alarm bot, but slightly worse for you, and also it has way broader range. And you know how it feels to get hit by an alarm bot and then take a fight. You don't want that. Nobody wants that, especially when they're like weakened and you've got an extra bullet that you can take to the head. You can take an extra op headshot and still be fine. And that is the reason that this character is just so good. He peeks into ops, he takes the shot, and then he kills the traitor. And it's so free for him. Like, no other character can do that except ISO. And he can do that, like, all the time, and then he can do it again. It's not like ISO can do this once around. ISO can do this as many times as he needs to, just like a Raina, just like, well, Clove can't even do that, but just like a Clove kind of, except that it's not just 50 health, it's a full headshot. The problem with Raina is you get headshot, you're done. The problem with these like normal carry agents, you get headshot, you're done. ISO, you are guaranteed that if you both headshot each other at the same time, it doesn't matter what your ping is, you're winning that gunfight. And that's why ISO is the #1 best solo queue agent in Valorant, and the strongest hyper carry. And the ult is bad, pinned link video for that too.